Hello! Today we are going to talk about setting. Have you heard of the word setting before? Do you know what setting means? Well, every story has a setting. The setting is where the story takes place. Sometimes there are more than one setting. Sometimes there might be just one setting. In our last story that we read together, called Frida, do you remember what the setting was? Do you remember where the story happened? Was there just one setting, or was there more than one? Well, sometimes sometimes the author tells you what the setting is right away. Sometimes they show you where the setting is with the pictures, and sometimes they just give you hints about what the setting could be with the words or the pictures. But lucky for us, our author, Jonah Winter, told us on the very first page what the setting was. She writes, "For little Frida, the world is Mexico. Her house is a blue house. It is in the town of Covacan." So, what does that tell you about the setting in the story? A lot, right? It tells us that the story takes place in Mexico, right? And at least the beginning of the story is in a blue house in the town of Covacan. Okay? So, remember, sometimes stories have more than one setting. Okay? So far we could say the setting in the story is Mexico. And throughout the beginning of the story, right, it talks about Frida in her house. So, one of the settings of the story is Frida's house. Now, remember, we've talked about the beginning of a story, the middle of the story, and the end of the story, right? The beginning comes before the middle, and the middle comes before the end. A setting can be different in the beginning than it is in the middle or the end. Do you remember something that happens in the middle of the story? There are many things that happen in the middle of the story, okay? But something that the author mentions is that Frida went to school. It says that at school, Frida studies science. She is bored. School is too easy. One day, Frida is riding the bus home from school. So, school is one of the settings. And do you remember what happened when she was on the bus from school? A horrible accident happens. A trolley runs into the bus. Frida gets very hurt. Okay. So that changes the setting to the hospital, right? Because when you get hurt, you go to the hospital. So the hospital is another setting in the story. Okay. So, do you feel like you know what setting means now? What I would like you to do in your reading journal that you got from your bin, I would like you to pick your favorite story. It could be any story, it could be a book, or it could even be a movie. I want you to think about what one of the settings is in that story. Okay? So, you're thinking about your favorite story and where the story takes place. Okay? Maybe there's more than one setting. If there are more than one setting, then you can pick just one. Just choose one setting in the story. Okay? And I want you to draw a picture of it in your reading journal. And then I want you to try to write the words of where the setting is. So if the setting was Mexico, you could write the word Mexico. If the setting was Frida's house, you could write Frida's house. If you wanted to write a setting or draw a setting that happened in our story, Frida, you could, okay? Or you could pick your favorite story and figure out what the setting is, all right? In your I Ready lesson today, you will figure out the setting in a couple of different stories that they're going to read to you, all right? So remember that setting is where a story takes place. I will see you very soon.